My name is Stephanie Lucero. I'm with California State University of Sacramento. I'm here to help move us along. I'm going to introduce our wonderful welcome introduction to Dr. Glenda Humiston from Humiston. Sorry, Glenda, I know I checked. Glenda Humiston from UC Agricultural and Natural Resources. So,
really great to be here this morning, and I kind of naturally have an outdoor voice. So it's really great to have you all here this morning. This is a really big issue that we're dealing with here, and I find it really exciting and actually quite an honor to be here today because based on your work of the next couple days, I'm hoping we're going to really pull together some new structure and strategy on how to deal with invasive pests are such a potentially devastating item here in our state. Many of you here in the room are at the front lines of this. I don't have to tell you this. You've been working on it for years. Many state agencies, I saw federal agencies, of course our UC folks are here, and a lot of private sector, NGOs and others. So all of us are going to have to pull together to work on this. For those of you who maybe aren't familiar with UC Ag and Natural Resources, let me just really quickly kind of describe us, and then I want to share a really good news story that shows that we can find some solutions to these kind of issues. So UC A&R is the face of the University of California. We are out there serving every single county in the state. We have offices in those counties. We have research extension centers scattered all the way from Oregon border to Mexico. We have several hundred academics that are doing research as well as extension of that research into the hands of folks out in the field. We work very closely and collaboratively with a wide array of partners throughout the state on both research as well as delivery of programs. And we've got a lot of statewide programs, some that you might be familiar with, like 4-H, Master Gardeners. I think a big one here today is our Integrated Pest Management. Perhaps some you're not as familiar with, like our Nutrition Policy Institute, our Water Research Institute. And I think it's important to recognize these programs because I was just telling somebody out in the hall a few minutes ago. If we're going to educate the public that are clueless on this issue, I think it is going to take things like 4-H kids in their beautiful uniforms saying, hey, do you know about this? Because people pay attention to cute kids in 4-H. I mean, they do. They're the ones that kind of cured us of littering and made us recycle, aren't they, those kids? Same thing with things like Master Gardeners. The people that work with them trust them. They look to them for info, and they're in our urban areas, and that's going to be really important moving forward. IPM, I think you all know, and our cooperative extension folks. I could keep bragging, but I think most of you, if you don't know about us, please come and get to know us a little bit better. We've got a couple of really big goals for the next couple of days. Identifying and prioritizing actions is obviously a really key one. We want to better understand the Council of California's strategic framework and perhaps enhance that, and update it, create it. We want to identify some new concepts and innovative ideas for our efforts. I mean, there may be somebody in this audience that's got something happening that none of the rest of us know about we can start replicating elsewhere in the state. And we got to really talk about the resources, the human resources, the financial resources, the infrastructure. We're going to need to actually deal with this issue. Obviously, one of those is going to be research. That's one reason we're here and we're co-hosting this. Research is really kind of our bread and butter. We've been doing it for this is our sesquicentennial. Try to say that real fast if you haven't practiced. It took me a while. Sesquicentennial. 150 years we've been here doing this, and we take great pride in that. We've got all kinds of scientists from plant biology to pests, to bugs, to trees, to soil, to climate, and frankly, in my opinion, it's going to take all of those different entities working together to help us find solutions. Often the challenges we face nowadays are so complex, it's the multidisciplinary effort we need. So now let me share a good news story, because I think it's important, and if you'll forgive me, I'm going to do a little bit of reading, which I kind of hate doing, but I think it's important to really get the details here. How many people are familiar with what happened here with the European grapevine moth several years ago? Okay, so maybe a little over half the audience, that's good. This was a really, again, very important and devastating insect pest of grape from Europe and the Middle East. It was first detected in Napa Valley in 2009, and it came here fairly rapidly. The immature stages injure the berry and promote development of fungal infections that result in bunch rot. While moth populations were the largest in Napa County, by 2011 the moth had also been found in 9 other counties around the state, as far south as Fresno. If the moth became established, it could increase production cost in all grape growing regions and cause adverse environmental effects. In 2010, the U.S. and California Departments of Agriculture began an eradication program to keep this insect from becoming established here in California. Our A&R academics responded very rapidly to this. We worked with public and private partners and international scientists to develop a pest management program that relied on a dual approach of deploying pheromone dispensers to disrupt mating and application of very carefully timed insecticides. In late 2009, UC scientists published an extensive literature review describing the current knowledge of life cycle and management on the UC IPM Exotic and Invasive Pest webpage. And if you haven't been on that webpage, by the way, that's an excellent webpage. Next, the scientists mounted a very multi-pronged research program to study the biology, the life cycle, the host range, and management practices under California conditions and different conditions in different regions. Growers then use that information to formulate strategies and work on ways to deal with the pest with as lowest toxicity options as possible. Both conventional and organic options were developed to introduce, and they started giving us some really excellent control over this moth. The strategy allowed grape growers to continue to produce a competitive crop in a very competitive environment under quarantine restrictions. Information generated from the field observations and research trials were then reported weekly through UC Napa County's website and scattered around the state. Cutting to the chase, over the span of 7 years, the dual pest management approach was implemented. The moth detections declined from over 100,000 moths in 1 month in 2014 to none in 2015 and 2016. Subsequently, all previous 10 California-infested counties have been deregulated and European grapevine moths declared eradicated from California and the U.S. Lifting quarantine restrictions from table grape production areas enhanced that industry's ability to export its products, something that had been limited while the quarantine was in place. This multi-agency collaboration contributed to a successful science-based response quickly to a very serious pest threat. Exactly the kind of situation we're looking at right now. And I hope that story gives you some hope because frankly, it's a pretty amazing story, consider it. It's just one example. Karen Ross is going to give you some others. She's going to give you a fuller overview. And I know from yesterday's phone call, she's also got some relatively good news on the budget and other items. One thing I want to emphasize, though, and I think we'd all agree on this, the most important and best thing we can do is keep these kind of pests from coming here in the first place. Prevention. And that's a huge issue. It's critical. I know Secretary Ross and many others who are working on that and take it very seriously. You know, once they're here, they cost millions and millions of dollars to deal with. Prevention is a far, far better option. They come in here at an alarming rate, too. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe the last number I was told is that we're getting a new pest here in California roughly every 6 weeks. 6 weeks, that's not very long. So, and who knows what the next pest may be? It may be worse than the one we've got now. They adapt to our environments quickly, and we can't rely upon just our standard pest management practices. And we certainly can't try to rely on ones other states or other nations are doing. They don't always work in California. We're a leader here in California in appropriate pest management strategies. In fact, much of the world looks to us for how to do things like integrated pest management, which was born here in California. Our office at UC IPM manages not only that program here in California, but we manage it for the entire Western states. which is a tribute to the folks in the office. I see Jim Ferraro is the director of that here, and I know some of your other folks here too, but I can't name everybody. I am pleased by how many people are here today. I think it's what we're going to need to deal with this. And with that, I'm going to toss it over to Karen to, I think I'm supposed to toss, right? I wasn't sure if I had to hand it back to her before I gave it to you.
I wish I could make it cash on that.
So for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure nobody in this room doesn't, Secretary Karen Ross.
Thank you, Glenda.